Today, you're gonna learn the 5 traits of a high status voice by one of my personal mentors, Jason Capital. Your voice is one of the most sincere signals of status. When you have a high status voice, people listen to you and become engaged with what you're saying. With a low status voice, the opposite happens. People tend to tune you out. When you are training a dog, there's 2 different vocal tonalities that a dog automatically understands and responds to. One is a high-pitched voice and the other one is a deeper voice. Dogs understand the high-pitched voice as a reward. When you tell them, "good boy," they get excited. Everything changes when you say, "bad dog," in a deeper voice. We as humans have a similar reaction to different vocal tonalities, but unlike dogs, we have more than just 2. For simplicity's sake, we'll focus on 3 of them. 1. Seeking rapport, 2. Neutral rapport, and 3. Breaking rapport. When you go to a restaurant and a waitress comes up to you and says, "how can I help you?" she is using seeking rapport tonality. This somehow makes you feel superior and higher status. The reason why this happens is that when we interact with someone who we perceive as higher status than ourselves, we speak up to them. We try to build rapport. Lower status people seek rapport from higher status people. The way you identify when someone, even you, is using seeking rapport tonality is by looking how the pitch changes at the end of each sentence. For example, "how can I help you? How can I help you?" Notice how the tone becomes higher at the end. It goes up. This is the vocal tonality that you want to stay away from. It screams low status. The next vocal tonality is neutral rapport. This is where you are completely relaxed. You don't feel the need to seek rapport with anybody. This neutral rapport tonality is unchanged. The tone of your voice remains the same throughout the sentence. For example, "where are you from? Where are you from?" Notice how the tone stays the same. Now, breaking rapport. This is when you talk down to someone. You guessed it. This type of tonality goes down at the end of each sentence. This tonality shows that you are superior, that you are challenging. Higher status people challenge others, something that lower status people don't do. This is where talking down to someone comes from. Here's a great example of breaking rapport tonality.
Red, you go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Generally speaking, it's better to stay in the neutral rapport most of the time and introduce breaking rapport every once in a while. Just like salt in your food, too much of it and it ruins the plate. Those were basic principles of vocal tonality. Now you're gonna learn the 5 traits that make your voice high status. Now, everyone who has a high status voice follows the same 5 principles, but each one of them applies them in a very unique way. Think of someone who you consider to have a high status voice and try to notice these traits on their voice. This can be someone you know or even a movie character. Number 1. Authoritative. A high status voice has a strength behind it. You don't hear hesitancy, it's not questioning. All you hear is certainty. Whether they're right or wrong, people will listen to them because they won't hear any doubt in a high status voice. Number 2. Clear. This is something that I am working on myself simply because English is not my first language. A high status voice speaks, articulates, and enunciates clearly. Think of any great speeches delivered throughout history. They all had a clear message and has been clearly delivered. Number 3. Unaffected. A study at Kent State University concluded that people unconsciously adapt to each other's vocal tones. That's why we don't see someone shouting as the other person is using a very calm voice. This usually helps you build rapport with other people. But changing your vocal tone to match somebody else's is arguably a way to seek rapport, which is a lower status trait. Higher status people use the vocal tone they want, completely unaffected from other people's tone of voice. Number 4. Interesting. We as humans, we like to find patterns on everything, including the way we speak. Now, most people have a monotone voice. This means that when someone finds a pattern, they become desensitized to it and then begin to tune them out. When you change the tone, speed, or volume of the way you speak, you prevent people from finding the pattern, so they keep listening. I'm gonna show you a clip from The Wolf of Wall Street and notice the subtle changes that Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, has in his speech to emphasize certain points.
See those little black boxes? They're called telephones. I'm gonna let you on a little secret about these telephones. They're not gonna dial themselves, okay? Without you, they're just worthless hunks of plastic. Like a loaded M16 without a trained Marine to pull the trigger. And in the case of the telephone, it's up to each and every one of you, my highly trained Stratonites, my killers who will not take no for an answer, my warriors who will not hang up the phone until their client either buys or dies!
Number 5. Breaks rapport occasionally. Like mentioned before, you want to challenge and break rapport occasionally, not all the time, but every once in a while, which naturally happens when you're high status. Now, a little technique to make sure someone's paying attention to you is what Jason calls the status shock trick. If you're confident enough, if someone is disengaging from your conversation, you can playfully but certain yell, "Hey," and maybe a little smirk just to soften the tension and continue talking. This immediately breaks rapport and re-engages them back in the conversation. Alright guys, leave a high status like on this video if you want more videos about psychology of status and charisma. And let me know, what are some of the topics that you want to learn more about, and you might be featured in a future video. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.